once a person starts learning and getting some of this information, it's very, very easy for this person to start taking things to his head, because we live in a generation where most people don't know anything. With all due respect to everybody, I probably knew less than everybody here before I started. I still don't know that much. But the point is that most people are confused, where they think they know a lot when they don't know anything. And once they know anything, they actually think that they're Gadol b'Torah. They still think they're Gadol b'Torah. This one guy decided to send me a text message, this is maybe 2 years ago, just to let me know that he knows more than me. He goes, I know a lot more than you, right? I don't know, what kind of response do you want to something like this? Like, you actually expect a response? So he sent it again. He sent it again. That, I know a lot more than you. If that was enough, he actually came to my house. He came to my house with his friend. He's like, oh, listen, if I offended you, I didn't mean to offend you. He brought me a cake. I'm dead serious. Sonny was there. I can't make this stuff up, Rabotai. I can't make this stuff up. The guy, because I knew him, he came to a bunch of my classes, but he knows more than me. And he wanted to make sure that I know that he knows more than me. So after he told me he knows more than me, and maybe he thought I was offended because I wasn't responding, so he came to my house with a cake with his friend. And they were like handing me a cake. I don't know. It's like, oh, listen, I didn't want to offend you or anything. Oh, okay. I wasn't really offended, but it's strange somebody to tell you that they know more than you, don't know more than you. I don't know. Like, it's that important for you to tell me that you know more than me? I don't know. That's strange for me what kind of information people share. But fine, okay, brought me a cake. It's nice lunch or something. I don't know. But before, I was holding the cake. I wasn't really too interested in this whole conversation. So I was holding the cake like on the, like still like halfway. And then he helped me out. He helped me out. Why? His friend said, no, listen. It's obvious he knows more than you. I gave him the cake back, said, thank you very much. Why, you don't want peace? I said, what's wrong with you? No, strange people. Strange people. Why? His argument was because he's religious from birth. And he learned with some rabbis, some big rabbis. And he just needs to know that I should know that he knows more than me. Now, if this wasn't enough, I can't make this stuff up. This wasn't enough. He decided to call Rabbi Ephraim. Because I arranged for him to go to Rabbi Ephraim's house one time a few years ago. So he could meet, get a bracha, and whatever. And so he had Rabbi Ephraim's phone number. Rabbi Ephraim told me anytime you need anything, call me, no problem. You like the kid. So he called Rabbi Ephraim. And Rabbi Ephraim says to me, he goes, you don't have to be upset. He's a shoteh. You don't have to be upset. He tells me, no, don't be upset. I know it's annoying, everything happened, but don't be upset. He's sick. He's a sick person. I said, why? He goes, because the guy starts telling me things about how the Gdolei Ador all call him before they put a psak. Not one. Not this one respects. All of the Gdolei Ador call him regularly before they put a psak in one of their books. They call him. And he starts the conversation. He says, Rabbi Ephraim, I'm not a regular person. So he tells him. He tells Rabbi Ephraim, I'm not a regular person. Yish mechubad. I'm an honorable person, he tells him. It's mamash, it comes out of his mouth. And Rabbi Ephraim, he has good midot, so he doesn't hang up the phone on him. He listens to this stupid person. And then he starts telling them, oh, listen, all of the Gedolei Ador, they're in contact with me. They ask my opinion about everything. So that's when Rabbi Ephraim says, okay, thank you, okay, and end of the conversation. And he tells me, listen, you don't have to be upset. I said, why am I upset? The guy's really annoying. It's this. Kfui tova. You go, no, you don't have to be upset. I said, why? He's a shoteh. He's patur for mitzvot. He's patur for mitzvot. He's not a normal person. He's sick in his mind. But this guy hounded me for months, every day would send me a text, man, until I blocked him eventually. I just can't take. It's just so much you can take. But the point is that sometimes the Torah will actually make a person arrogant. Why? Why would such a holy thing make a person arrogant? Because you're surrounded by a bunch of people that actually don't know much. Constantly. When in this generation, most people are not even sure if they came from monkeys or not. Like there are millions and millions of people that honestly believe that they are somehow related to the chimpanzee in the zoo. And those same people believe that the chimpanzee, that they're related, their grandfather, the chimpanzee, is also related to some, I don't know, some amoeba on the floor somewhere. Because that's how the chimpanzee originally started, originally from some amoeba. Like they actually believe that their relative is like amoeba 1, amoeba 2, amoeba 3. Like they actually believe they're related to all of this. So when you talk to certain people about God, they're so confused, they have no idea what's going on. You start talking about Torah, they have no idea what's going on. And I'm not just talking about Goyim, I'm talking about Jews. PW research said that over 34% of Jews in America do not believe in God. And 64% think it's perfectly fine to be a Jew without believing in God. Like the statistics are horrifying. And this is just the ones that admitted it. The point is, Rabotai, is that you start telling people Parashat Shavua, Moshe Rabbeinu, Alachav Shabbat, Alachav Tarat Mishpacha, all different things. Most people are looking at you in the beginning. What planet did you come from? Like, Alachav, what is that? What are you talking about? You have no idea what you're talking about. Most people grew up like me thinking that, okay, Torah has some good stories in it. It's very interesting. And there's some laws for special people. And until you delve into it, you think, you're convinced that the sages are no different than you. You think that the Rambam and you are just two really smart people. He's smart in his way, I'm smart in my way, we're the same. I can teach the Rambam a few things, the Rambam can teach me a few things. That's what people think. People think that they can criticize the sages like they criticize their best friend from school. And they can disagree with a giant rabbi from this generation. They can disagree with him openly like it's not a big deal. Like, what? He's just a rabbi. Just a rabbi. He wrote a few books, big deal. So, it's such a high level of ignorance in the generation that when you're not ignorant completely, when you know at least the weekly parasha, you know at least the day-to-day halachas of running your life as a Jew, you do modeh ani, you do netilat yadayim, you know that you're supposed to eat kosher food, you know how to decipher between kosher and non-kosher, you know basic day-to-day Jewish life. If you don't learn musar and you don't develop your character trait, by default, you think you're better than everybody else. By default, you think you're better than everybody else. By default, you think that when Hashem said, you're the chosen people, really he meant only you. And the rest of mankind are a bunch of losers, useless. And you treat people as such. And that's why sometimes you see people that look religious do horrible things as human beings. Disgrace. Disgrace to the Torah, disgrace to Hashem, disgrace to their families, disgrace to everything. Why? Because they never learned the basics of Musar, which is character development for you to not just be a decent human being, but to be what you think you are already, which is someone that knows something. So, the biggest disease that a person can have that could spoil all of it is taking his Torah knowledge that he already possessed, that he already acquired, that he went to school, that he went to yeshiva, that he read some books, that he didn't go on some weekends because he read these books, and he has a whole library, and he read some of them, and he looks like he read the other ones, but he really didn't. It just looks like it because they're really old. But the point is that to everybody else, he's like the Moshe Rabbeinu of the community. When everyone has a question, they go to him. Not necessarily because he knows the answer, but because how to get the answer. He doesn't necessarily know the answer, but he knows how to get the answer. So if they're on the phone with him and they don't know really what he's doing, he's like, hold on 1 second, I'm just going to do something 1 second. Oh, yeah, I got the answer for you. Yeah. Just remember, in reality, he was looking on Google. In reality, when he said, hold on a second, I got to take care of something else, a different question, he wasn't looking for a question. It was not a different question. He was looking for the answer because he has no clue what you're saying. And he just went in a Google search. First thing that popped up, Moshe. Yeah, it's Moshe. It's Moshe. The guy wouldn't know the difference. The guy that's asking the question wouldn't know the difference. He knows, the other guy doesn't know. He just knows somewhat of how to find the answer. And Chacham. So everybody starts looking at this guy. He's like, oh, he's a Talmid Chacham. This guy, Tzaddik. Give me bracha. It's better to get a bracha from Haman than such a person. Why? It's all lie. But it's very easy to fall into this trap. Why? Because you're surrounded by a bunch of people that know even less than you. So sometimes you fall into it and they call you Chacham. You start thinking you're really a Chacham. Because in comparison to them, you are. But that's not what you're supposed to compare yourself to. The best athlete is not the best athlete because he plays with a bunch of fifth graders and he's 25. The best athlete is someone that is the best in comparison to his peers, people that are in the same level as him or better, or higher. If all of your competition is a bunch of losers, guess what? You're a loser. Even if you're good in reality, no one's ever going to know it. Why? Because the competition, what you're comparing yourself against, is irrelevant. It's immaterial. If you're saying, listen, my house is worth at least $10 million. Why? Look at this house. I saw it on TV. They had a similar house like this. It was worth this, and it was worth that, and it was worth this, and it was worth that. Okay, great. Where is it located? Oh, it's located in the middle of the worst neighborhood in the world. Oh, well, guess what? It's not worth even half of what you said. Why? Because even though your house looks like all the other houses that are on television that are highlighted and that are beautiful and cost a lot of money to make, their surrounding neighborhood are houses just like it. Therefore, their house is worth a certain price. Your surrounding neighborhood is crime, criminals, prison cell. That's your next door neighbor. Your house, by default, is not going to have the same value. Why? Because the comps are not the same. If you are comparing yourself to fifth graders and you are 25, you cannot say I'm a big chacham. Why? Because you compare yourself against fifth graders. If you want to be a gadol b'Torah, you have to compare yourself to what you're supposed to, not even necessarily other people. Because in order to be able to compare yourself to another person in Torah, at the minimum you have to be at their level. Meaning it's not the same comparison as comparing houses. You cannot compare yourself to a Rav Ovadia unless you are in the same level as Rav Ovadia. So some people like to say, they like to have these battles. They think that rabbis and sages are like superheroes. You know, X-Men can beat Magneto, and Magneto can beat Hulk. And they think, oh, they compare them like they can fight. So they think, no, Rav Yashiv is much bigger than Rav Ovadia. And Rav Ovadia is much bigger than Rav this one, Rav that one. And they start comparing like who's bigger. This is the silliest thing in the world. Why? Because what you're doing is you're thinking that you can actually understand how much they know. And unless you know what they know, you don't know how much they know. It's not something to compare. Needless to say, when a person wants to compare themselves to people that are really chachamim, at the very least they need to achieve just as much as them. If you wrote 50 or 100 books that the entire generation said, wow, amazing, you changed the world. If you open enough Batei Midrash, Yeshivot, Kollels, Mikvehs, and so on, like some of the Gdolim, then you have something. But if you're just this average dude that just started learning Torah 5 years ago and you remember a few Gemarot by heart, Khalas, no, finish, stop. It is ridiculousness. The problem is that the ego of a person is constantly fed because he's comparing himself to the wrong thing. Not only is he seeking honor, but he has this false sense of superiority because of his knowledge. Whereas a person that is running away from honor and running away from arrogance, he's constantly going to feel that whatever he knows is insignificant in comparison to what he's supposed to know. He's not going to base his knowledge based on what other people know, but rather based on what he's supposed to know. Meaning, you're going to look at the amount of Torah that's available that you even know exists, which, by the way, whatever you know exists is not even a portion of what actually exists. But let's say you went on one of these websites. There's a few websites out there like HebrewBooks.com, I think, and a few others that have like 60, 70, 80, 90,000 books available for free. Sifrei Kodesh. And let's say, now it includes Gemara, it includes a lot of things, but a lot of things that we haven't even scratched the surface on. So you know that these 90,000 books exist, right? How much of them do you know? 2 books? 5 books? 10 books? 100 books? 200 books, you know. 500 books. Sure, wow. You already wrote a book. 500 books. 1,000 books. Okay, you're still missing another 92,000. So even if you know, even if you're such a chacham, you wrote a book and you know 1,000 books, you're still missing 92,000 just from that website. Not the other ones, not the other libraries, not the stuff that's not even on the net. Just that website, just that one tiny little source. You don't even know 1% of the stuff that you know exists, bichlal. You haven't even read the introduction from the author on 92,000 other books. What exactly are you proud of? What knowledge do you actually think you have? This is not to make a person depressed and give up. It's just to kill that ego and realize, yes, good, chazaku baruch that you know Parashat Shavua. Chazaku baruch that you know a few halachot by heart and a few gemarot, and maybe you even finished the Shas once or twice. Maybe. But in comparison to what we're supposed to know, no human being has the right to even think about arrogance. Why? Because the more you learn really, the more you realize how much more information is available, where you realize that whatever you know, the more you realize how much you don't know. Where those 93,000 books I just mentioned to you, that's one small collection, you realize times it by 1,000,000 and we still haven't scratched the surface. By 1,000,000, times the 93,000 by 1,000,000, and you still haven't scratched the surface of the available Torah in the world today. Needless to say, the stuff that's not available to us because we lost 24,000 students of Rabbi Akiva. So when a person is going to do whatever is necessary in order to destroy his ego, because he wants to become a kosher vessel for the Torah, he's going to constantly look at all the stuff he needs to do. Okay, I need to read this book. I need to do this. I need to do this. And not just I need, but he's going to do it. He's going to be active on it. And every chidush, he's going to write it down. And everything, he's going to write it down. And everything, he's constantly acquiring more knowledge. Constantly acquiring more knowledge. And going over it. And trying again. And constantly battling. And so on. And acquiring a little bit every day. A little bit every day. He's not going to, even if you study 24 hours a day for a week straight, you're still not going to finish the Torah. Even if you study 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for 150 years straight, you're still not going to finish even 1% of it. It's not for you to finish. But every day you acquire a little more. Another few hours here, another 20 minutes here, another 5 minutes, another 10 minutes. And every day, how do I apply this? How do I apply this? How do I apply that? Not just learning it for theoretical. How do I apply it? Every day you kill the ego a little bit more. That spiritual thirst is actually going to propel the person to true greatness.